Okay, good evening. We'll get started here. Welcome to the Economic Community Development Committee meeting. Today is Monday, October 11th. We're going to get started here. We have approximately 6 things here on our agenda today. Today, I have Councilor Malama here on my right and Councilor Michaud here on my right. Okay, I don't think we need to do roll call. We okay with roll call? We all here? We'll just go with it. We do have a agenda. Kurt, anything you want to change to the agenda? Team, any changes to the agenda? Can I entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion to second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. We're going to move on to item number 4, approval of the minutes from September 13. Any questions concerning the minutes from September 13 meeting?
No.
Okay, if not, I'd like to entertain a motion for the minutes approval.
Chair, I move to approve the minutes from September 13th, 2021.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, let the record show unanimous pass. Moving on to item number 5, information item, information only, business support communication tool, and we have our one and only Michelle. Michelle, all yours.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Boyce and council members. My name is Michelle Wilmot. I am the Economic Development Project Manager for ECD. And tonight I wanted to share with you some work that we're doing on building out a trusted partner community network, or trusted community partner network, however you want to say. But this is an effort that duplicates what Bill Ellis, our economic development officer, and I did last year to distribute our emergency small business grants. It was deemed such a great effort that the Port of Seattle and the Seattle Chamber of Commerce, which is also King County's Associate Development Association, it's the ADO, they are tasked with promoting and supporting economic development efforts across King County. They are proposing a duplication of the work that Bill and I did. So I'm really proud to share this with you. We are in the process right now of trying to address some challenges that COVID has obviously caused some serious impacts on our small businesses here, not only in Kent, but across the county. These numbers on this slide are from King County wide, so don't get alarmed when you see some of these numbers. This is King County wide, not just Kent. You can see that there's a lot of restaurants and bars that have permanently closed down. Leisure and hospitality employment has dropped significantly. And as staff to our own city's Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, I can tell you that our hoteliers have shared that their business has been impacted as much as 80% reductions over the course of this pandemic. What we've also learned is that businesses owned by those that are primarily BIPOC business owners, they have been disproportionately impacted by a lot of this COVID crisis, simply because the fact they have not had really great access to information or the amount of resources that are flowing out of the federal government via the state as far as in forms of grants or other federal supports, whether it be EIDL loans, etc. So what Bill and I did in building out our trusted community partner network, it's a longer name for what Bill and I have called the platoon. I'm sure Kurt and Rhonda have heard about this. But what we did was identify partners in the community who were primarily executive directors of some of our community-based organizations. And the reason why we reached out to some of these folks was because in order to get the city's own emergency grant dollars out the door and to get to those smallest micro enterprises who we knew were not reading the city's Facebook page, they're not reading the Kent Reporter, and probably not looking at our website. And even if they did do those things, everything was in English. So we really had to look to those partners in the community that could really help us ensure that our small micro enterprises here in the community were aware of these opportunities. And once they could do that outreach too, they not only did that outreach, but they also helped provide technical support and assistance. In the case of our grant, we had, we had to have our grant applications, people had to submit them online. We know people are not always competent or comfortable on the use of computers, and if they could use computers and if they had to type things in line, one of the things I learned was somebody might be able to speak English well enough, but they might be very uncomfortable when it comes to typing and sentence structure because of discomfort and the ability to spell, in English per se. So anyway, looking at these partners, just to give some examples of folks that we worked with here in Kent, we certainly worked with World Relief, we worked with the Iraqi Community Center, with the India Association of Washington, certainly with the Indian Community Center, etc. Certainly the Kent Chamber and the partnership, but we really wanted to reach those individuals that we could not reach through traditional efforts. So in looking at this, we identified lots of different challenges when it comes to the types of supports that our smallest businesses need. Looking across the county, you'll see this slide has some examples, but some people might need help obtaining financing. And we know that our own Small Business Development Center here at Kent Station is not able to provide that kind of support. They would more work in a referral capacity. We know some people need help with city permitting, and that is something that usually falls to Bill and I to work up the chain in our own department, where others out in the community might not be able to provide those sorts of support. Like you see, some other folks might need employees and access to other sorts of business supports, whether it's insurance, whether it's bookkeeping, whether it's marketing, etc. And we have a ton of different partners who can provide these services, but the challenge too then is when trying to make these referrals, well, who do you send people to? So this is something that we try to tackle in building out this system. We, earlier this year, in many conversations that we've had with our economic development partners across the region, we were coalescing with our colleagues in Redmond, and they operate Redmond and the East Side's Chamber, an economic development entity. And I just want you to know that they have about 20 staff. And Bill and I worked with them on a grant application to the Economic Development Association to build out this trusted community partner network, because we knew we needed to provide these supports on an ongoing basis, not just in an emergency grant situation. And so we applied for this grant. We're awaiting results any day now, but you'll see that what we have applied to do is to provide support for these community navigators. So using an example as World Relief, for instance, we can't just ask them to do this work for us. And they are slammed, as you might imagine. They do a lot of work in supporting the Afghan refugees that are coming to our region right now. So giving them additional capacity in the terms of funding, to whether they need to hire additional staff, to expand part-time staff to full-time, that's sort of what is envisioned with the use of these dollars. Well, we don't know the outcome of what the EDA grant is going to be, but in sharing with our partners, with the economic development partners, I should say, that represent King County cities, the Port of Seattle and the Seattle Chamber of Commerce have said, this is such a great idea. Whether we get this EDA grant or not, we think that there is merit to build out this program and have all of the cities across the county support this. And you can see just by the numbers here, we could greatly support those small businesses clear across the county. obviously Bill and I's efforts would be focused here on South King County, but our neighbors that we've talked to in Auburn and Renton, Tukwila, everybody's on board so far. Right now, the Port of Seattle has started reaching out to all of the cities and using a similar funding formula that they do on a per capita basis would be the amount of dollars that they're asking cities to contribute. You'll see there that they're asking Kent to contribute about $50,000 into this effort. And we can use a variety of funds for this. We could use ARPA dollars that we're getting. We could use port money we get. Every year we apply for and usually receive a $65,000 a year grant from the port. This is looking to build out this system to provide nearly $1 million over the next, well, $1 million a year for the next 2 years to try this out and see if we can really make a dent in providing support for those hardest to reach businesses. We anticipate not only would we be able to build out this support system, but this would accompany a marketing effort also to where people would be indoctrinated and understand the different supports available, because I'm going to show you something else which Bill and I are working on that fits in perfectly with this.
Can I ask a question on this slide?
Oh, sure.
So of the 50,000 we'd contribute, how is that how does that break down as far as how many Kent businesses?
So that's a great question, Councilmember. And the idea is that the money stays in your own community.
Okay.
Building out the support network, though, is something that we need to really look at on a regional level, because we have amazing organizations that are based here in Kent. For instance, I'll use the India Association of Washington. They are based here, but they have additional offices in Redmond. World Relief is World Relief Seattle, but they provide services clear across the county. This money isn't for grants. This is to provide staffing to support the services that they are providing. So this shouldn't be viewed as a grant per se. This is just providing services on the ground. Okay. But we are really fortunate to have these organizations based right here in our backyard. So right now you'll see this is a sort of a timeline of what is happening. The chamber, and when I say the chamber, this is the Seattle Metro Chamber as our ADO, that's King County wide. They are working on outreach with the cities, all the cities in the county, to see what the level of buy-in would be to support this sort of program. What would be awesome is the proposal is, should enough cities buy in, the port would manage all of those contracts. This is excellent because Bill and I certainly don't, and I'm sure Rhonda doesn't want to have to do this either. The amount of work on contracting with all of these different businesses and organizations would be massive. The chamber would manage the overall network, and we would keep an advisory team up to date on a regular basis. This is not a hard thing. The cities all get together with the Port of Seattle and the Seattle Metro Chamber on a regular basis and have been doing so, especially during the course of this pandemic, at least once, if not twice a month. So building out this network certainly gives us access to people who can access and reach those hardest to reach small businesses. Giving them funding to support their efforts is seen as a way to support your own community. And by building out this network too, we're eliminating duplication of efforts, and we're really building our scale at the level of support we can with the monies that are available to us. This level of outreach was deemed as a model. In fact, Bill and I were invited to share our results that we had with the King County Council. The India Association was so thrilled that they invited us to come and present, saying that they thought that this should be a model, and now that, the port is using it. We're really happy, and we feel like we've made some great decisions on behalf of our community. And we didn't just decide by ourselves, though. We actually reached out to our organizations to ask how we could best work with them to achieve what we were trying to as far as getting those dollars out the door. So you've all seen this slide before. Bill has put this together, and this is just an array of logos that you can see. It's like, okay, there's a ton, and this doesn't even include all of the different organizations that provide technical services to small businesses. What we've done with our Port of Seattle dollars this year is we've actually done a contract with the National Development Council. What they're doing is they're actually developing a small business resource directory for us. And they're not only just looking online and checking to see what they do, they're actually interviewing all of these different organizations to verify that they do what they say they can do on their websites. In some cases, we learned that some people might be thought of as a technical assistance provider, where in fact they're much more in line with a referral service. What we're doing with this also is really getting into the specifics of the types of business services that these organizations provide, and whether they have different the ability to provide these services in different languages, and those will be spelled out in this directory. And I know you can't see it very well probably on this slide, but this is just a one page of what this directory is going to look like. We are anticipating by the end of this month this directory to be complete. And just to let you know, people have been thrilled about the fact that we're doing this work, because once this trusted community partner network, if you will, comes into play, should the rest of the cities decide to fund, we have done all this work in advance to be able to know who is doing what in South King County and the services that are provided. We'll get a report that shows the types of services that are available and the gaps and other areas where we may want to invest dollars if there are gaps in the services that are out there. And it's bringing it a little bit closer to home. Looking at all of this stuff, we know that I think the council is aware that our website is being refreshed right now, and this has all been a perfect storm of opportunity where we can put together some materials to really help our residents navigate the government process, in particular when it comes to our permit office. And one of the things that I think is so great about me not being a permit staff person is that I don't understand how it all works either. And if I don't understand, and although I've heard a lot of the words that are used, if I don't understand, then we know that a lot of our business owners or aspiring business owners might not understand either. So what we're doing is putting together some communication materials, whether it be to start a restaurant, a retail business, office perhaps, and then a basic permitting system too. With our new Amanda system, there's a lot of reason to put some jargon-free materials together for people. Now, doing this in English and consolidating it down is going to be a challenge enough, but I've got people who are willing to help me with this. We've done some outreach with the Kent Chamber and the Kent Downtown Partnership and some of the board members who are willing to take a look at these things and vet them so they make sense in an English standpoint. And once we're into that place, then I want to take those out to the platoon of folks that I've worked with over this last year, who can then work with me on trying to get these translated to where they make sense. Just an example, looking at one of these brochures, this is a sample from another city, but the very first thing that was noted in the city, in the brochure, was to check with your permit office before signing a lease. And this is so timely because we have a business, or an aspiring businessman in downtown Kent, who who has been paying rent for 2 years, all to find out that the building he wanted to start his business in, it's just not going to pencil. It's terrible. It's terrible, terrible, terrible that he has spent all this money to find out that it's just not going to work in this particular location. But if we can start to let people know they need to check with us first on the zoning, especially when it comes to, and permitting, especially when it comes to these historic buildings. Historic buildings are great because they are historic, but they also they also have their own challenges when it comes to the permitting and the different equipments that are needed, not only just from Kent's requirements, from a national requirement as well. So with that wraps up my what have we been up to for the last few months in putting this together, and I'm happy to take your questions if you have any.
I got one question. I don't necessarily need an answer today, but something to think about. You and Kurt both. And there's a lot of stuff going on, lots of opportunities, a lot of talks about the port, a lot of talk about Seattle Chamber. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the Kent Chamber to get involved in some of this here. So I don't know how we can bring them to the table, because I think there's so many opportunities out there they can help drive some of this stuff here. So don't need an answer today, but as we move forward, I think that's an opportunity for us to really get them on the leading edge, because there's a lot of money out there to make things happen, right? And I think it would be good to have them driving some of this here.
And I'll just reiterate, Chairman Boyce, that we did share our information with the executive director at the Kent Chamber, and she's helping vet some of this communication materials with us. And certainly we're going to need her help in the outreach phase once we get these things finalized.
Yep. Good. Thank you so much. Xander, you okay? Okay.
No, just
Thank you.
Great job, yeah.
Appreciate the update.
Great.
All righty. Okay, we're going to go to our next item, 5.2, Housing Resource Website Update. And this is Kayleen.
Ooh, cool.
Okay, all righty.
Yeah, this is remote. All right, hello. My name is Kayleen Novus, and I'm a long-range planner in ECD of our, our small but mighty team of two, just Haley and I. We've been working on some really cool things that we're excited to show you the progress we've made on a Kent Housing Options Plan implementation item. Hopefully I'll actually be able to take you on a tour of it. We'll give it a try here. So let's see. So first, I kind of just wanted to let you know what I was going to talk to you about today. What is a housing resource page and why do we need one? Some of the real nerdy nitty-gritty of how the website was developed, the navigation tools, and determining how to make it accessible, and then an actual tour of the website page that I've created. So first is why. You might have recalled that when we were talking about the Kent Housing Options Plan, there were quite a few, as in pages of lists of goals, and two of them identified the creation of a one-stop shop housing resources page as an implementation item that we could do to get at multiple strategic actions that we identified in the plan, specifically related to displacement policies and how people can get information about foreclosure assistance, as well as rental information. It's really hard for tenants and landlords to find information that they need. So we identified this as a need during the Kent Housing Options Plan, and as something that, because it could be done completely in-house, is one of the first implementation items we could do. So we're excited to say that we've finished it. Yay, first implementation item done. And so we'll talk a little bit about what's on our housing resources page. So the first thing that I did after we adopted KHOP was I went onto our website and searched every possible thing I could find about information relating to tenants, landlords, housing, everything. And there wasn't a lot, actually. And what we did have was divided into three pretty distinct silos: human services, planning, or the rental housing inspection program. And if you're a member of the public, you don't know what those things mean. You don't know where to look on the city website to find oh, I'm a tenant, I'm having a hard time with my landlord, I might need some legal resources, so I'm gonna go to the rental housing inspection program page. It's not that we didn't have a bunch of the resources, a lot of it we did have. It just wasn't intuitive. And so I met with each of those two departments and created kind of an internal team to talk about everything that we had and how we could create a new page without recreating 211, which is the Catholic Community Services hotline. 211 is a great resource, but there's no home ownership resources on 211 or home buyer resources, so we wanted to think bigger than just immediate homelessness resources. So in order to decide what went on the page, we kind of created this huge list of what are the things we get asked the most often. If we get a phone call, it's likely because someone can't find that information. Or if they can find that information, maybe it's out of date or maybe it's not right. But more often than not, it's because they don't know where to look. And so there's a lot of staff time helping people just redirect to external resources. For example, we'll show you on the page, is our affordable housing options in Kent. One of the biggest one is going through the King County Housing Authority. There are no links on our website at all to the King County Housing Authority, or what a voucher is, or what does income restricted housing mean. So we made all that. In addition to compiling what resources we already had, I embarked on the journey of creating a lot of new ones. So in addition to that, we were working through all of this during the website content migration, which I know you've all heard of, and wanted to take a look at, we're creating a new thing, which means we don't need to just follow the way the resources have worked before. And we really wanted to take this approach to make sure that this was something that could be used by everybody. So we looked at all of the headings and all of the content through the eyes of what the public would want to see, which is really hard as a planner because we're really jargony. The things that we learn and we want to share with the world, we want to share our knowledge, is at a level sometimes that's just only people like me care about. And so how do I translate those resources in a way that's accessible and easy for the public to be able to understand, and not gatekeep that information based off of a college degree or something like that. So in addition to that, we worked with multimedia. They did a full accessibility audit of the page already, so I'm really excited about that. As well as they looked at how our links work, how the navigation on our page, whether or not it's intuitive for someone to use both on a phone and on the computer. So lots of things behind the scenes. Little did you know, long-range planning is now also web developers, which is kind of fun. It was a really exciting project, actually. And so the housing resources page, let's see here. This is why I took the mouse, because I want to be able, to show you the actual page, because I thought that that would be a really cool use of our time today to let you see how it actually works and functions. But of course, it's hard to, if I can't see it, I don't think you guys can see it. Yes, this is live. I made this and put it live right before our meeting. So it's exciting. And I tested all the links. They should all work. So this is the Housing Resources One-Stop Shop page. I have compiled all these little links up at the top here are called quick links. They'll zoom down the page to something else. And these ones up at the top are links to either other internal city pages that people who might just so happen to associate with housing. A permit center, for example, is not exactly 100% relevant to this page, but this is what they might find if they Google housing in Kent, or if they, I wanted to make sure that if it had anything to do with housing and they got here, that then they could find it. So we have links to the rental housing inspection program page, the permit center, The affordable housing search is a link to King County Housing Authority. Some stuff about our Kent Housing Options Plan. The homelessness resources and rent and utility assistance are both links to the Human Services page, which is still under development. So their page is not yet completed. It currently links to their existing page. It doesn't have any of these cool boxes yet because that was a kind of a special thing that we did for this page. Something that's new to our website that didn't exist before is definitions of what is affordable housing, what are the types, what is market rate housing, links to places where people can search for housing. And I think a lot of us assume that this is intuitive, but not necessarily. And so making sure that we had it here in one place, this was important to us. So this never existed on our page before. This is new. We also have some stuff about mold prevention and healthy housing tips. This section is kind of is pretty new, actually. We had some stuff about tenant rights and responsibilities, but we had nothing on our city website about landlord stuff, which is difficult to find. It's really difficult to find. This took weeks of compiling this type of information and figuring out what resources exist for our landlords. So I notice there's not a ton of links, but the ones that I could find, they're here. And another link back to the rental housing inspection program. This section I'm really excited about is our homeowner and home buyer section. We had nothing like this on the website before either, so this is all new. I compiled a list of resources that had to do with foreclosure prevention. The home repair stuff did exist on the website, but under Human Services, so I don't know if I would look for home repair under Human Services. Things about, I didn't know the King County also had a housing repair program. So does King County, and weatherization programs. King County Housing Authority will help residents weatherize their house. Same with the Department of Commerce. So all really cool things. Oh, also this is really exciting to me. Anyway, all of it's exciting to me. As you could tell, this is my pet project. So home ownership classes. As a homeowner, I had no idea that Habitat for Humanity held classes like this to talk about when you do own a home, like how do you do maintenance on your home? I've had a house for 5 years and didn't know that this kind of resource existed. So I thought that was really cool. And then we also have home buyer links. So these are all links to external resources because we don't currently have any home buyer programs at the city. But building out this section also is something that, you know, in the future as our programs and things change, we might be able to add more resources to this page that are city resources and not just external links. And then we won't go through all this one because this is a lot, but this is the legal resources list. If it had to do with housing or a lawyer or legal aid or tenants, it is in this list. Links to their websites, their hours, their eligibility criteria, all of it. And then lastly, this is kind of the housing policy nerd section, which is, you know, if you are interested in what is growth management, why does the city do the things they do? We didn't really have anything like this on the website before either. And so as far as the education piece and helping our residents understand why we do the things we do, I wanted to make sure that we included that. So all that to say, there's a lot of stuff in here. I encourage you to go and click on all the links and play around. I can send you the link. The link is also in the PowerPoint, and it's live on our website. So it currently lives under just doing business and housing resources. Don't get too caught up on where this is right now, because as part of the update and of the website update with Granicus, there's going to be a whole revamp of the city website and the navigation. And we've had a conversation with multimedia about how we want this to be a prevalent resource. So it does feel a little buried right now, but that's not the future for this page. It will work. It should. Yeah, it should redirect. No, I mean, so it depends on what it is, right? So the permit center, of course, it'll link to the permit center page. Everything that links to a city resource links to a city page that then has contact information. If it's an external link, like say to King County Housing Authority, then no. Yeah, so. So I kind of skipped ahead a little bit. The rest of my PowerPoint just goes into what are the next steps for us, which is one of the other pieces that we talked about in the Housing Options Plan was that we would actively market this. All right, so I didn't want to just create this and throw it into the world and hope that it would do well. So we're going to have some conversations with some of our partners who we've contacted with, Human Services, Multimedia, to try to get the word out about this, and also to get, this can be a living document. If something about this doesn't work, which that's what I'm going to ask you all soon, if something about this doesn't work, something's missing, something just isn't hitting right, my goal is to make this page work for everyone in the best way possible. So when I'll reach out to CBOs and say, is this a resource you could use? Is there something you want to hand it off to? Then if they say, yeah, honestly, this doesn't really help us, it would help us more if it did X, then we'll do that. So that is the Housing One-Stop Shop page, which is exciting. And then I guess the end, which is if you guys have any questions, and I'm really interested in hearing if there is something that you would have expected to see that you didn't see, questions for me you have on my process, anything. Yeah, of course. I was like, oh no, Marley's gonna, I was like, I gotta make sure it's perfect for Marley.
She one of those fix it, break it type person. So,
Break it, go ahead. I mean, I've broken it a couple of times in the last week trying to make sure it wasn't breakable. You
no,
break
that's
it
good. I appreciate
You
that.
gotta do.
Yeah, exactly.
Molly, any follow-up question from you?
No, I'm so excited. And especially, I would just want to applaud you for the amount of time you put in to find those resources and links and listings that weren't there.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to take what we have spread across different pages and consolidate it, but to put the time in to find those gaps and what's missing is just really special. And thank you for that, because I think this is a great resource to the community. And I'm excited to be able to have some place to point people when I hear about they're having a housing issue or a housing question. So
Yeah,
thank
and
you
that's
so much for this resource.
It was, as far as developing the page itself, I did that myself, but I did not do the kind of figuring out what it should be by myself, and it was a great way to reach across departments in a way that we don't always do, and get people I didn't know from Human Services into a room together to talk about what do they want to keep on their page, what do they don't want to keep on their page. So I think that is a great example of collaborative interdepartmental effort to get us something really cool.
Good job. Thank you. Councilmember Show, any questions? No. Okay, good. All right, send us the link and we will play with it, okay? In the meantime, that's all we have on our agenda for tonight. So I'd like to say thanks, everybody, and we are adjourned.